Welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're diving into what's probably the biggest literary event this year.
Definitely feels that way.
Margaret Atwood's huge new autobiography, Book of Lives, a memoir of sorts.
Right. It just dropped November 4th from Doubleday.
And our mission really is to give you the shortcut. We've gone through the reviews, the main ideas, so you don't have to tackle all, 599 pages right away.
Although you might actually want to after hearing about it. It's really something.
Yeah. What makes it stand out? Because Atwood herself was apparently worried.
She was. She thought, a typical literary memoir would be, frankly, boring. Like, I wrote a book, then I wrote another book.
Huh, right. Been there, read that.
Exactly. But instead, she delivered this. Well, critics are pretty much unanimous. They're calling it a tour de force. It basically throws out the rule book for memoirs.
Okay, that's a big claim.
Huh.
So the reviews are good then?
Good is an understatement. We looked at 11 major reviews. And they're not just positive, they're raves. Glowing.
Like what? Give us a taste.
Okay, how about the most spectacular, hilarious, and generous autobiography of the last quarter century?
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Hilarious and generous. That's an interesting mix for Atwood.
Right. And sharp, funny, and engaging. It sounds like he captures her voice perfectly, which, can be quite biting, but also deeply insightful and, funny.
So it's the way she tells it, not just the events.
Absolutely. That's the core of it. It covers her whole 85 years. But it's not like, and then this happened, and then this happened.
Not a straight timeline.
No, much more layered, like reflective stories woven together. Reviewers kept saying it reads like one of her novels.
Oh, interesting. So that same voice, vivid details.
Yeah, and a real story arc. Plus, it's got photographs and even her own illustrations in there.
Okay, that adds another dimension. But 599 pages. Is it too much? Did anyone push back on that?
There was a little bit of that. The main, maybe only significant critique we saw mentioned was that it can feel, quote, a bit completist at times.
Completist, meaning?
Yes. Like maybe too much detail on, say, all the houses she's lived in, or really long backstories for people, every single book deal, long quotations from things.
Okay. Potentially overwhelming.
Potentially. But, the flip side of that, which most reviews highlighted, is that this detail gives it this incredible breadth and richness.
So maybe completist isn't entirely negative. It's like she's refusing to simplify things.
Exactly. It's like you're getting the full, unvarnished picture. One review called it a blizzard of memory.
A blizzard of memory. I like that. And maybe you need that scale to capture a life like hers, especially now, right? The timing seems significant.
Oh, definitely. It lands just as the final season of the Handmaid's Tale series is wrapping up, and they're gearing up for the Testament's adaptation. She's as relevant as ever.
Still right in the middle of the cultural conversation.
Absolutely. And to really get that relevance, you have to understand the woman behind the work. The book seems to dig deep into this duality she presents.
Right, this idea of Peggy Nature versus Emmy Atwood. Let's unpack that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Starts with her childhood, which was, pretty unique.
Not your typical upbringing for a literary icon.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Her dad, Carl, was a forest entomologist. So for half the year, the family lived way out in the Canadian wilderness, the bush.
Wow, like actually roughing it.
Totally. Tents, sometimes shacks. Often no electricity, no running water, no phone. Just nature.
And this shaped young Margaret, or Peggy as they called her.
Immensely. She loved it. Learned to fish, canoe, was fascinated by insects, frogs, everything. They even nicknamed her Peggy Nature when she was a teen.
Peggy Nature, okay.
They were like country mice, she says, who then had to turn back into city mice when they went to Ottawa or Toronto for school.
A real split existence. But it wasn't all just idyllic nature walks, right? The book mentions some early difficulties.
Yeah, it wasn't just bugs and canoes. She talks about hitting 4th grade and suddenly facing this really brutal social world.
4th grade? What happened?
She calls it the unpredictable, oblique, underhanded, and Byzantine nature of the power politics practiced by 9- and 10-year-old girls. Basically, she got bullied.
Yeah.
Badly. Scapegoated.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's young to experience that kind of social cruelty.
And she carries it. She explicitly says that experience, that lesson in how power works, especially among girls, directly informed her novel Cat's Eye years later.
Okay, so the seeds of her fiction were sown really early in these quite personal experiences.
Definitely. So you have Peggy Nature, the observer, the one who gets hurt by those power dynamics.
So when does the other side emerge? The Emmy Atwood, the writer persona.
That seems to really crystallize in high school.
Yeah.
She describes herself then as like A small, awkward, flat-chested weirdo.
Her words.
Her words. And crucially, when she first published poems, she made a conscious choice. Use the initials. M.E. Atwood.
Why me Atwood?
She says it outright, so you wouldn't be tagged as a girl. It was strategic, creating a kind of armor. She calls it the baleful M.E., this public-facing, maybe tougher persona, separate from the sprightly daylight Peggy.
That's fascinating, building her own defense mechanism right into her byline. And this persona carried into her academic life, which was pretty intense.
Oh, yeah. University of Toronto, studying under huge names like Marshall McLuhan and Northrop Frye.
Wow, McLuhan and Frye, heavy hitters.
Definitely. Then she went off to Harvard on a scholarship, describes herself there as tweedily unglamorous.
But Harvard was important, right? Didn't The Handmaid's Tale somehow start there?
Yes, the seeds were planted. She was doing research on the Salem witch trials.
Okay, makes sense.
And she connects that historical research, the patriarchal control, the persecution, directly to the atmosphere she felt at Harvard in the early 60s, that grad school environment.
So the past and the present kind of merged for her there.
Exactly. That feeling, the historical weight, combined with the sort of everyday sexism of the time, that stewed for years before becoming The Handmaid's Tale. She also reflects on how the TV show really hit a nerve during the Trump era, which is interesting.
It's like she absorbs things and they surface in her work decades later. But her actual breakthrough success came much earlier, didn't it? And it was controversial.
It really did. Not with a novel, surprisingly. It was a work of literary criticism in 1972, Survival, a thematic guide to Canadian literature.
Survival. Right. That book was huge in Canada.
Huge. And she probably wrote it in just 4 months.
4 months, seriously.
That's the story. And it wasn't just a critical hit. It sold like crazy, like 100,000 copies. It basically saved her small publisher, Anansi, from going under.
That's incredible. So instant hero status?
Not exactly. More like instant target status. That success unleashed a wave of, as the book puts it, jealousy and malice.
From who? Other writers? Critics?
Seems like the literary establishment, yeah. Suddenly she was being attacked as a man-killer. Acid-tongued, even a terrifying meanad.
Whoa! Manad! That's intense. Why such a vicious reaction? Just success? Or because she was a woman defining Canadian literature?
It really feels like both. But those terms, man-killer, maenad, they're obviously deeply gendered, right? It points to a backlash against a powerful female voice.
Yeah, that language is telling.
She even notes her father had warned her, one of these days that smart mouth of yours is going to get you into trouble.
And trouble found her.
It seems she saw it as kind of the price the M.E. Atwood persona had to pay for speaking up.
Okay, so we have this image of her as this, intellectual warrior taking fire, which makes the next part of the memoir sound even more interesting. She shifts gears, right?
Totally. It's like after building up this formidable image, she pulls back the curtain and shows you this other, much quirkier, homespun side.
The prophet meets the pie baker, you said.
Exactly. She talks openly about believing in, well, wackier things.
Like what?
Horoscopes, palm reading. And she apparently has a lasting belief in exorcists.
Exorcists. Seriously, Margaret Atwood.
Apparently so. It kind of messes with that image of the purely rational literary giant, doesn't it?
It really does. A little bit of the uncanny in her own beliefs. And then there's the domestic side, the homespun Peggy.
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah. Loves knitting, baking pies like elaborate ones, decorating cakes, gardening. She even jokes, apparently, that she knows everything worth knowing about cleaning toilets.
Okay, that's relatable. Toilet cleaning expertise. It grounds her.
It does. It makes her feel much more, well, human. Less like an oracle, more like a person. She includes her drawings of the book, too, apparently. Shows that artistic side.
And this domestic life, this Peggy side, it really centered around her relationship with Graham Gibson, right?
Absolutely. Her partner for nearly half a century. She describes meeting him, fellow novelist Graham Gibson, at a party in 1969.
Does she remember details?
Oh, vividly. She remembers what they wore. She had on a white crocheted lace mini dress. He was in blue denims. She calls him a trickster, spendthrift, high-energy oddball.
Sounds like quite the character. But meeting him wasn't simple, was it? Their situation was messy.
Extremely messy. She herself had just married an American poet, mainly to keep him out of the Vietnam draft.
A marriage of convenience, basically.
Seems like it. And Gibson. He was in an open marriage with a woman named Shirley, and they had a child together.
Okay, yeah. That's complicated. Does the book handle that complexity well? Particularly Shirley.
Well, Shirley is one of the few people who doesn't come off looking great in the memoir. Atwood accuses her pretty directly of bad-mouthing her calling her a homewrecker. There's some definite score settling there.
Does that feel out of character? Just venting?
It could, but Atwood does something very Atwood-like. She kind of diffuses the venom with this literary trick. She includes these funny little back and forths with a made-up character she calls her inner advice columnist.
An inner advice columnist.
Yeah. Like this imaginary columnist tells her, the author writing the memoir, to basically calm down, get some perspective, maybe not be so harsh.
That's brilliant. So she gets her say, but also acknowledges her own potential bias and anger using humor.
Exactly. It's incredibly self-aware. It lets her be honest about the conflict, but also maintain control and that characteristic wit. It's her processing her own life like she's writing fiction.
A very clever way to handle difficult history, and they went on to have this long life together.
Decades. Writing, activism, farming, traveling, raising their daughter. But the end of the book shifts tone, inevitably.
Towards Gibson's illness and death.
Right. The reviews mention this part as quite somber, dealing with his decline from dementia and her experience of grief. It sounds like it's written with a lot of honesty.
Facing the end of that long partnership, how does she frame that period?
One specific thing reviewers picked up on was her reflection on choosing work right after his death. She had the Testament's publicity tour.
A huge commitment.
Massive. And she writes about choosing that busy schedule over sitting with the empty chair at home, knowing the chair would still be empty when she got back.
Wow. That's powerful. Keep moving.
Yeah, keep moving. She mentions she has a pacemaker now, but she's still going. It feels like that decision embodies the whole book, really.
How so?
It brings together all those selves she shows us. The vulnerable Peggy dealing with loss, the domestic side facing that empty chair, the driven Emmy Atwood fulfilling commitments, the sort of uncanny prophet still observing it all.
It's the synthesis.
Exactly. That blizzard of memories and photos leading to this moment of, well, survival. Survival through work, through writing, through continuing.
So wrapping this up, the big takeaway from Book of Lives seems to be Atwood just doing things her own way.
Pretty much. She takes the whole idea of an autobiography and just, well, Atwoodizes it.
Yeah.
Uses all her novelist skills, the humor, the layers, the complex characters, even herself as a character to tell her own story.
Proving that for someone like her, the usual rules just don't apply.
Right. Storytelling doesn't have fixed rules, and neither does a life, especially one as examined as hers.
Which leaves us with that final thought, that kind of puzzle the critics noted.
Yeah, that fascinating contrast. The canny quips, alongside this eerie, resplendent mashup of prophecy and humor. How does she hold both?
How does the pie-baking, garden-weeding Peggy nature coexist so seamlessly with the clear-eyed, often terrifying, dystopian prophet, Emmy Atwood?
That's the mystery, isn't it? That ability to see the intimate details, the crust on the pie, and also the grand, sweeping, sometimes dark patterns of society. How does one person contain both? That's what she leaves you thinking about.
A compelling question to ponder. Thanks for breaking this down.
My pleasure. It sounds like a truly remarkable read.